Okay, so let's see. There was 14 of you. Class average was a 73%. Apparently, that's with Levi 0 currently.
0 to 9, 1.
Yeah, there you are. That's Levi right there. Nailed it.
That'll change that class average.
So, let's see. Maximum value was 100. So here, here's the breakdown. So there was 5 people who got 90 or better. 2 that got 80 to an 89, 2 that got a 70 or 79, and 2 that got a 60 to a 69, and 2 that got a 50 to 59.
2 idiots.
So, huh? Yeah, but whatever. So in any case, reasonable breakdown. Mid 70s average. That's not too bad. So hopefully those of you who did well, you kind of saw that, okay, I can slap something together in a relatively short period of time. Those of you that struggled with it, maybe need to look at time management, things like that a little bit better. I know a couple people, actually, wasn't it Conkle? Didn't you say that you, because you were allowed to use your code?
You probably didn't read what I said in my submission.
Well, I did read it.
Okay, I said that I submitted the wrong one.
Mm.
So I submitted the one that wasn't fully updated that I had been doing, and not the one that you had updated all for us. And so that's why I had the wrong. So it wasn't even close to what I would have liked to have had.
Well, did you? So okay, hold on, let me understand. So did you do better during the test, but submitted the wrong thing?
No, my submission to GitHub that I could pull off of for myself to use during the exam was from a month ago.
Oh, you didn't.
Oh, you had. Well, a month ago it should have actually still been okay for the picker and stuff like that. But I get what you're saying.
Maybe it was even longer.
You didn't have a. You had a bad version of notes.
Yeah, my foundation was
You were coming off of nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, so really, you're saying you're an idiot.
I cheated myself. Yeah, that's what I am saying.
I did it with one
Well,
arm on drugs.
Yeah, but not well.
Yeah, 90. That's well enough.
All right. So, but in any case, so I'm sure you'll do better on the final then. And like I said, my exams, if you bomb one, well, as long as it happens in the right order, if you do better on the final, I'll replace your midterm. So if I was actually thinking, I was regretting it after the fact, Yenter. I should have made you grovel and cry instead of before I just let you read.
You did the class before.
Did I?
Yeah, 470. That was difficult.
Really? I thought the 470 test was easy.
The grades reflect that.
The range of the grades were apparently.
Yeah, it was the range. Yeah, the average was a 72 for it. I mean, the average wasn't bad, but it was it was kind of a steep. Right. You were single digits or close to full credit. That was what it was. But in any case, so hopefully those you guys kind of got an idea where you stand in terms of being able to throw together applications. Hopefully, through doing this, you saw that you're more capable than maybe you thought, putting something together relatively quickly. And maybe this shows you what you could do from at least a starting point for a student, getting some side income or something like that. If you end up taking what you've learned in this course and getting a developer account and start writing apps, if you could do something like that in an hour, who's to say that you couldn't write an app a week that does something and keep putting it up on the App Store for 99 cents or something like that, throw advertisements in it, and actually start building a reasonable income for yourself, just taking a skill you learned in a class. Okay, so if nothing else, maybe you took that out of it. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's just write this guy real quick. We'll put it up on GitHub so we have kind of a basis for how it works. Somebody will have to tell me what the assignment was. All right, so we're going to create a new project. I'm actually going to go ahead and open up our dice roller just so I have it so I can grab some of the WK item, picker item things in and stuff like that. So I'll pretend like I was you during the exam. But we'll go ahead and start a new project just to keep this separate. So we'll create a new project. And this is going to be a Apple Watch app. And we'll call this guy Midterm You actually don't even need a notification scene, but just forget about that. We'll just leave it alone. So we'll hit next, and I guess I'll throw it in CUW folder for now. We'll throw it on GitHub when we're done. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our app and extensions and close that guy down. So we'll just work with our storyboard. All right, so the idea is we would have 2 screens, right? So I'm going to need that here in a second. But this guy could probably be a little skinnier. All right, so we're going to go ahead and drag our second interface controller out here.
A lot of people said that about you.
What's this? A little skinny?
This guy can be a little skinny.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so idea here, the way I would have approached this from a time management perspective is I would have initially gotten my table view stuff showing up and got my picker stuff showing up. Okay, that's one thing you could have done. Another thing is maybe focus on one screen at a time, or focus on a button that takes you to the other screen. But I think personally that the hardest parts of this are going to be, I need a foundation for getting things into a table view, and I need a foundation for my picker view. Okay, so let's, just to get us in the right mindset, let's go ahead and do the picker view part first. So I'm going to go ahead and throw a group in here, and we'll make this guy vertical. And we decided we would have a button at the top, right? And did I say the button's like go or something like that? Is that what I said? Or maybe I didn't say, but some button that takes you to the second screen. All right, and then we'll go ahead and we're going to throw the picker in here. All right, so now we have a picker and we have our button, and this guy already has his code behind. So let's go ahead and let's see. I'm going to make sure the picker shows up in the group, even though I don't think it necessarily matters. So let's go ahead and give ourselves an IB action for the button and then an IB outlet for the picker. Those are the 2 kind of important things we're going to need. So I'll go ahead and do that. Then I'll do this. Then I'll do this. All right, so we're going to do a control click there as soon as my pinwheel stops spinning.
That was really hard for me to do, control click.
You don't need a control click.
No, but still, it was easier than trying to type it one-handed.
Could have borrowed your neighbor. All right, so this is the button, so we're going to have an action. So we'll say go button pressed.
Just need your hands.
All right, and then we're going to go ahead and give ourselves an outlet for our picker. So we're going to call this guy the picker. Okay, so we have that, and let's go ahead and close that. Let's go into our interface controller, and let's see. Inside of, so here's our picker and our go pressed guy. So we'll come back to that here in a second. Let's just get our picker filled up here real quick. So we're going to say var picker items is equal to WK picker item array, like that, right? And then we'll say for var, what did I say, 1 to 1,000?
Yeah.
For var I is equal to 1, I is less than or equal to 1,000, I plus plus. We will say, so I need to get the picker item, so we're going to say WK, oh no, var item equals WK picker item. Actually, we know we're going to get it from the array. Isn't that right?
Yeah, picker items.
Let's just grab the code real quick.
Copy and paste it.
Example picker. Okay, yeah, we're going to append the new picker item, and then we're going to add the stuff to, okay, got it. All right. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we're going to say picker items dot append, and we're going to append a WK picker item like that. So that just added something onto our picker items, and then I'm going to say picker items at bucket I minus 1, because we're starting off at bucket 1 because I'm using that for my count. Okay, so I minus 1 will give me bucket 0. I just added something to bucket 0. And then we'll say dot title is equal to, let's just do something like this. Something like that. And we don't need to set the other guys there. And then we're going to go ahead and say self dot the picker dot set, what is it? Set items to picker items.
Yep.
All right. So right there, we should have now a picker that shows all of that crap, right? All right. So let's just see that that's working. So make sure you check your. We're going to go to our target. We're going to choose our WatchKit app. And we're going to have this guy run on the 6S 38mm. So to launch a little quicker. Go ahead and launch this.
I did mine on 6 Plus initially.
Yeah.
Huge screen.
Oh, I got to make sure that on the, I don't have the OK button over here. Allow.
Oh, you said,
Yeah,
So
you have to
launch
you have to run it a
twice,
second time.
yeah.
Yep. All right.
Excuse me if
So
something-
now we should be up and cooking.
I thought something was wrong at first. I was like, oh, no.
All right, so there's our go button up there, and here's our 1 to 1,000 megabits per second. Okay. Next thing is we need to be able to get those megabits per second stored somewhere and passed on to that second screen, right? And I think in class we looked at a couple different ways of doing this, either through the context or through the Singleton. I love Singleton, so I'm going to use the Singleton for this. I actually think it'll also be quicker. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to go back into our...
Did anyone else not use Singleton? So much faster.
So we need to go ahead and give ourselves an action for our picker so that we know when something was clicked. All right, well, we know when the value changed at least. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this guy. We'll do this guy here. We'll slide that out of the way. And I'm going to click, drag in a action for our clicker. And we're going to say, or picker, sorry. Picker value changed is what we'll call this guy. Okay, so now that guy's in there. And so now I have a function in here called picker value change that takes in an int, and this guy is going to give me the index of what was selected. Okay? Now, I'm going to go ahead and create my Singleton. So I'm going to create a new file. It's going to be a WatchKit class. This guy's going to be an NS object. I'm going to call it converter core. Good enough. Hit next. Good enough. We'll come in here and we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a static var. Let's call this guy megabits per second. And we're going to start this guy off at I don't know, -1 just for no good reason. Okay. Actually, we'll start off at 1. That'll be the default in case they didn't actually set it to anything. All right, now, as we come in here and we change our picker value, this guy will be 0 or 1 or 2 or 3, so I need to take the value and add 1 to it to give me my megabits. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say converter core dot megabits per second is equal to value plus 1. All right, so every single time that guy changes, it's going to update the value inside the Singleton. Okay, now let's go ahead and start writing our second page. All right, so let's go back into our interface storyboard. All right, so we already have this second guy here, and I'm going to go ahead and just do a control drag on the go button, and we'll push this there. That way we get the navigation bar that comes back. So in case we want to just decide to change the number of megabits, we can. All right, and just for right now, I'm going to go ahead and put a label on the screen. So let me come in here, And I always start off with a group, and we'll make the group vertical. And I know some of you don't like doing the groups because it technically comes with it, but I like it. So this is, I guess, a deal. All right, then I'll make this guy the width of that container. All right, and I'll also make him centered. Okay, and then let me go ahead and give myself an outlet to this dude, just so I have access to that label. But the problem is before I can do that, I need to give myself the code behind. Okay, right now I don't have a Swift file that lives behind this dude. So we're going to call this guy, so we're going to right click, we're going to do new file, and this file is going to be a WatchKit class. He's going to subclass interface controller, this guy, and let's call him, well, whatever, yeah, so let's call it answer IC, good enough, that's where our answers will live. All right, so this guy's going to be called answer IC. Go ahead and create that. So now I have that there. I'm going to drag that file up here so it's with our other stuff. Go back to our storyboard. I need to now tell this guy that he's no longer a default WK interface controller. He's now a special WK interface controller called answer interface controller. Now that I have that, I can go ahead and create my outlet for my label. So I'll do this. We'll drag this guy out there. And we'll create an outlet. We'll just call this guy the label. Connect that. And now let's just kind of make sure that our singleton is working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, on this guy awaking, I'm going to go ahead and grab the current megabit selected from the first screen and put it in this label. Just proving that I'm passing information between the two screens. Okay? So let's go back here. Hold on, I'm lost. Where am I? Okay, so answer IC. All right, so in awake with context, we're going to go ahead and say the label dot set text. The text we're going to set it to is megabits per second, and then let's say what do I call it? Converter core dot megabits per second. So we'll go ahead and just embed that guy in there. So we're going to set the text of that label to whatever the current value of our singleton's megabits per second is, followed by the string Mbps. All right, and this happens when we awake with context, so that's when this second screen first kind of comes into existence, which should be after we've done something with our picker view. And if it's not, that's okay, because we defaulted our converter core's megabits per second to 1, which is, if we never touch WK picker, it'll just be 1. Okay, so now when we run this, we should be able to go back and forth between the first and second screen, proving that we're getting megabits per second over there. So here I'll just hit the go button by default first. It says 1 megabit per second, proving that if we didn't do anything to it, we still have it. Then I'll go ahead and, what is it, 33 now? There's my 33 megabits per second. Okay, so there's proof that we can get crap from screen 1 to screen 2. Now we have the information there. Okay, now we need to go and do our table view stuff to show our answers. So we're probably going to have a label, which is going to be our conversion, followed by the kind of value we're converting, right? So this many bytes, this many kilobytes, this many megabytes. So a row that has 2 dudes in it. So let's go back here and let's just review real quick. Let's see, where is our sample of our dice row? Is this a row? No, that's a singleton. Where? Oh, here it is, table rows. Thank you. All right, so we essentially just created a brand new NS object. Nothing special, just like our singleton, really. And then what we did is we went ahead and we had this guy have a couple of outlets associated with it. So we're going to say that our row is one of these dudes, and we're going to connect this stuff up. All right, so let's go back up here and let's go ahead and create our row. So we'll go in here. We're going to say a new file. This guy's going to be a WatchKit class. He's going to be of type NS object. and we're going to call this guy answer row. Okay, just like that. So there's our answer row object, and he has nothing in there right now, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to put something in there. So I'm going to drag him up here too. So we'll go to our answer, go to our interface storyboard here. Now let's go ahead and throw our table view into our group. So here's our table. Throw that guy into our group, and I'm going to go ahead and just make sure he's underneath the group. I don't think it necessarily matters, but we're going to do it anyways. All right, so here's our custom class for this guy, and he's no longer an NS object. Now he's an answer row. Okay, that's the kind of animal that this dude is. Everybody relax. Oh, no, we're good. He's an answer row. All right, so now this guy is an answer row. So I can start throwing things in here, that is 2 labels, right? So I'm going to have one that's going to be probably 67%, one that's 33% for bytes and kilobytes and that kind of stuff. That way it'll kind of fit. So let's go ahead and let's see, do I have a... He's already horizontal, that's fine. Okay, so let's throw some labels in here. So here's label 1, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to have this guy say speed for right now, just so we can see it. And we're going to have him, his width is going to be fixed, and the percent is going to be 67. Okay, and then his height is going to be relative to the container. All right, then we'll go ahead and throw another label out there. Okay, so I'll go there, and we're going to have this guy, you know, let's just have him start off with, we'll just have it say B by default. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and have his height be relative to the container and his width be fixed to 33. Wasn't the first guy 67? Isn't 67 plus 33 100? Well, whatever. Wasn't this a percentage?
No, apparently not.
I thought it was a percentage.
Points.
No, whatever. Doesn't have to look pretty. All right, so we have our speed and our whatever the speed dealy thing is going to be. So let's go ahead and hook that up. So we're going to go ahead and click on our answer row here. And we're going to come in, actually, let's just do this. Does it take me an answer row? No, it doesn't. So we'll just steal our,
Have to manually go there.
we'll steal our outlets. So here's my answer row. So I'll go ahead and put my couple of outlets in here. So we'll have this guy is going to be the speed label. And this guy will be the what label?
B label.
Well, what's,
So you named it B?
well, yeah, but what's the, what would we call that? Like
Should've
bytes, kilobytes, unit label?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that, unit label. All right, so they've got those two things now. So we'll go back out here to our storyboard. We have our answer row selected. Now our outlets are available. There's our speed label. There's our unit label. So both of those guys are now connected. All right, so now we need to go and fill up those rows with stuff. Okay, so I'm going to start off by not touching the speed label. I'm just going to get my labels added there for our for bytes, kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes. Is that all you're supposed to do? Those 4? Okay. So let's go and do that. Let's see here. This down, grab this, and we'll go to our table example. Okay, so table example. So we need to have access to the table. We're going to set the number of rows. In our case, we're going to set it equal to 4 with row type, and we need to give our row a type, right? And for us here, we named it, if I go out to our interface storyboard, we see here that we named our row, right, this guy, cell. All right, and where did that come from? That was his identifier. Okay, so we need to give our rows an identifier. So let me just steal this code here real quick. This would be good enough. All right, and then we'll come back into this guy. So let's go ahead and let's grab our row here. We're going to give it an identifier. We'll call it cell as well. Okay, even though he's a member of that other class, we're just going to call him cell so we can create him in our code. So now we'll go to our answer IC, and we'll do this inside of awake. So right now we're setting the label equal to this selected number of megabits from the first screen, and now we're going to go ahead and fill in our tables. Actually, before we do that, let's give ourselves access to that table. So here's this guy, and then we'll do this, and then I'm going to grab the table, and we'll drag this guy in here, give ourselves an outlet, and this is going to be called the table. Now we have an outlet to access our table. Now we'll go back into answer IC. Now we can go ahead and paste this code in here. So we're going to have our table. We're going to set the number of rows equal to, in our case, what, 4? Bytes, kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes. So we can just hard code it to 4. All right. And actually what we can do here is we can say var units is equal to, what is it, like this? So we have bytes, kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes, so these are all per second. All right, so then instead of saying 4, we can say, what is it, units count. Okay, and we're going to go through all of our units. And each time we're going to get a current row. So we'll ask for this guy. We're going to get him as a answer row. All right, so there's our answer row. All right, and then we're going to set the text in this guy equal to units at bucket I, and we're not going to have any image here. Okay, so we said current row dot, and his name is not the label. His name is going to be what, unit label dot set text. Okay, so now we should have a bunch of rows in our table view there without the mathy stuff in there, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and run this. We'll select something here. We'll go here. So now we have bits per second, kilobit, or bytes per second, kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes. Okay, so now we actually need to go through and set our speed. And our speed is going to be based on the number of megabits that were selected. So right off the bat, we need to get our megabits into megabytes, right? Okay, that'll allow us to then move up and down for kilobytes, bytes, and also gigabytes. All right, so let's go ahead and let's do var speeds is equal to, go ahead and create a little array here. And what's this guy going to say? He's going to, we need to go ahead and get our megabits per second, but that guy's already, so let's see, what would it be? So these are going to be, I guess they can be integers.
Doubles, you'll have to have it as a double.
Well, right. I'm saying, do I want to store them as strings or do I want to store them as doubles? That's what I meant. Because it doesn't really matter. There. I'm just going to do this. var bytes per second is going to be equal to converter core dot megabits per second divided by 8 divided by 1024 divided by 1024. That should get us into bytes per second, right? Megabits per second.
No,
Yeah, you multiply.
Oh, gigabytes would be the other way. Yeah, so multiply by this twice. Gigabytes would be the divide by 1024. All right, so divide by 8, that's going to get us to megabytes per second from megabits per second. Multiply by 1024 is going to give us a bigger number, which is going to be kilobytes per second. And then multiply that by 1024 is going to give us an even bigger number, which is going to give us bytes per second. Okay, so let's call this guy cur speed. And chances are it's going to trail off, but we'll look at that here in a second. Oh, he's just not happy for a second because we haven't used him. All right, so now down here we're going to go ahead and we're going to say cur row dot speed label dot set text, and the text we're going to put in here is going to be cur speed. Then we'll go ahead and update cur speed to be equal to cur speed. Actually, we could just do divide equal 1024, like that. So it'll keep setting it over and over and over again. Let's go ahead and run that. So 44 megabits per second. That's that many bytes per second, that many kilobytes per second, that many megabytes per second, and that many gigabytes per second. But the issue is now it's rounding off, right? Why is it rounding off?
it's an int, not double.
Stored it as an int up top, dividing it by a double, or dividing it by an int down here. So it's doing whole number math, right? So what I can do is I can divide this by 8.0, multiply it by 1024 times 0.0. It actually shouldn't matter if I do it by that there, as long as I got the first one. Okay, but now it doesn't like that my original one is of type int. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go into our... Oh, you could, but might as well just do it the quick way. Go in here, start this guy off at 1.0, and now we're off to the races.
You say,
I should have saved. I have type int.
oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, now I do have to cast this guy to a double.
Oh no, you can just take, instead of bringing in an int, bring in a double, and it's good.
No,
No, because then you're gonna have to still type the other cast double as well. So eventually you're gonna have to.
that work? Ah. I tried to add 0.0 to it to see if that would make a difference. All right. So we'll turn that guy into a double. All right.
Start everything else.
Oh, I think I just did start.
And then you're just wasting memory.
So there we go. So we'll hit that. So there's 25.0 megabits per second. There's bits, there's bytes, there's megabytes, there's gigabytes, and this is what, crashy bytes?
Those doubles.
All right, so 3 point, yeah, I wonder what I clicked.
It just does that. It's kind of weird.
No, just a simulator issue.
Yeah.
All right, so this guy kind of currently looks like this. This was good enough for the exam. We didn't really know how to shorten these things up very much. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do. Let's see, is there an easy way for me to show you? Or do I have to show you the new thing, %f thing? All right, so we're going to take a double. I think we can do this. Where am I? And this guy, so we're going to go ahead and when we set the current speed, I think there's a function called round. What will that guy do? So that automatically 2 places, or I have to tell it how many places? It rounds to the closest integer. That's not what we want. Okay.
Which way around to the tens place?
It's like the rounds to the
You can't really tell.
place.
Yeah.
That place.
I think it rounds to the closest integer. It's still showing as a double,
Yeah.
but it rounds the value to the closest integer. So let's clean this up a little bit. So let's say Swift limit decimal places. I know there's a way to do it with the C type style with like what %.2f or something like that. Oh, that's interesting. So you can round it and then divide it by the number of decimal places, so that'll give you, yeah, this was the thing I was talking about. Let's look at that guy real quick, 'cause that's this is more of a C style type thing for creating that string. So yeah, let's do that one. So this is another way we can build a formatted string. So rather than cur speed here, we're going to set the text to be a new string. Let's see. 1 second. So it's string. Are you going to give me my options for the string constructor? There we go. Format, and we're going to say %.2f, and then arguments are going to be what do I call it? Cur speed. I'm using the wrong version of this.
Oh, you want to take out arguments?
Yeah, I am using the wrong version of it. There was multiple versions of that constructor. Format.
I mean, if you have the right parameters, it should not worry about which one you pick, shouldn't it? It should automatically find correct.
%.2f arguments is going to be cur speed. Why are you so upset? Oh.
With the,
Nope.
you're missing another parenthesis.
Oh, I am. Thank you. All right. So this should limit it to 2 decimal places. So this actually comes from an old C thing. So if we were doing this in the C programming language, we could say something like printf %.2f comma cur speed, and that would work in the C programming language from like 1968. So this stuff's left over from that. So that's what this weird format string thing comes from. And Java also has that built in there. It has, I think it's called string formatter that takes something in that format. All right, so 0.01, that does look like our bits per second gets or bytes per second gets a little bit long. So something we probably could do here. Well, we got a minute, so we got a couple minutes. So let's continue to clean it up.
Just make them small.
I think we can.
Apparently, you only can make it 80.
With, we say relative to content. Let's
You just
see.
have a horizontal slider bar, so you can just slide over and look at the numbers.
I'm going to actually try something here. Relative to content. I want to see if those guys will resize appropriately for.
Oh, yeah.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
All right, so there's our little converter, 35 megabits per second. Let's go up to 64. Well, it seems like we get too big here. Let's get up all the way to 1,000.
Oh, you're not gonna
It won't.
break that. Oh,
That does
It
fit.
fit. This
not
is-
lucky.
That's a barely fit. In the words of myself, it barely fits. You just got.
All right. So now that we have kind of a working copy, and since some of you sucked at GitHub, let's go ahead and learn to put this on GitHub. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and let's go to GitHub here, and we're going to create a new repository, and we're going to call this guy CSC390 Fall 2015 Midterm. So that'll be the name of our repository, and I'm going to go ahead and just grab our remote guy here. Go back in here, go to source control, go here, go to configure midterm, go to remotes, hit plus, add a remote, keep its name as origin, click there, add remote, done, source control, push.
You want to commit it for.
Let's see. Which one is it? Is it that one? Nailed it. All right, and then I should be able to click here, and there's all my files. So there's the code in my extension. You only have to commit it for a local.
Yeah.
All right, so I can go ahead and paste this on Slack under 390 midterm solution for you guys to take a look at, and there you go. 3 minutes to spare. All right, questions about the midterm?
I want to see you do it with one arm.
I'm sure I could have if I wasn't having to talk through every step I made.
We could watch Bob Ross for the last 3 minutes.
Watch Bob Ross. All right, well then let me stop the recording. That way it doesn't get flagged as it's happened before.
Copyright.